What is going on, you guys? It's your boy, Barbell Buckets here, and we are back with episode 86 of the video game therapy series. It's been another slow, I guess, release on this, as I'm trying to get back into it. Like I said, ironically, I'm not really sure if it's ironic. The difficulty in me doing these is not the subject matter. In fact, I have more things now than ever to kind of ruminate on, but is just playing the game. I've contemplated just logging on and AFK fish farming and talking, but I for some reason I have some barrier to even just playing the game. I'm not really sure why. Um, like I said, I think it's not that I wouldn't have fun. It's just because I'm I guess trying so hard to reject a lot of I guess I don't know, maybe immature is probably a terrible word to use, but reject so many overstimulating pleasures. I think video games now are fall very squarely into that category. I think generally people of my well, I guess some subset of the people in my generation play way too many video games, and that's it's like kind of their only thing, and they just use it as a second life or an escape. I'm not really sure, but um, I guess it's kind of pushed me away from it entirely, where I don't really enjoy games that much anymore. Um, really of any kind, but I've always given myself a pass for Minecraft, but it seems like I'm even kind of revoking that for myself, given that I'm having difficulty just even like just opening the game to do one of these. Which again, this isn't really about me playing, because I'm not really doing anything exciting. Like, especially these, I've just been mining kind of endlessly down this giant chasm. But I do it as an excuse to kind of talk about stuff, but seemingly even the game element has been a bit of an obstruction to that, but nevertheless, I'm here today doing these. So I guess if you're watching this, it went all the way through. There are lots of things to talk about. The first thing is about shit, and not feces, but but the shit that you have. I just mean a lot of times we own a lot of shit, and it's not like not talking about feces. You're just talking about crap that we own. But my quote around this is that um, nice shit makes you want nicer shit, whereas shitty shit makes you appreciate having shit at all. At least there's a fancy way of saying it's. Uh, I guess like not much is generally enough, where more than enough is never enough. I guess is another way to put it. These are very poetic ways of saying, um, generally you especially in today's day and age, if you're in a Western country, you probably have way more stuff than you need, and so having like a super nice, clean thing is only going to make you want to like compare to other people's nice and clean things. Whereas, if your thing sucks, you don't. I guess you can. An easy example would be like an apartment or a car. Like if you have a shitty apartment, you're not gonna like, ooh, you have a better apartment. No, you have a shitty apartment, and I don't even care if the apartment sucks, right? You're not gonna impress anybody, or that's not the point. You're not. It's not really used as some like social signaling tactic. Same with like a car. I drive a shitty car, and I don't. Even if you like were gonna gift me a better car, I don't even think I probably like wouldn't want it, in the sense that I don't need a better car. My car is totally fine, and it's a shitty car, and that's good. That's what I want. I don't really want a better car than that. So I don't know. It's just something about being appreciative of what you have is something, because it's kind of hypocritical to do that, or not really hypocritical, but it's not really it's frowned upon to do that today, where it's always wanting more and wanting better. So anyway, that was my little quote that I wanted. That I wrote down a long time ago. Um, yeah, I guess this is another example I had, because I'm sort of the gym, and I kind of hate that they have these TVs in the gym that I go to now. It's just infuriating me, but uh, I guess I don't know why this popped into my head, but I think in general, I would never let you know, I guess attractive people give you advice, in the sense that generally their advice is probably flawed or just broken on some level. It's like you don't let especially like girls, like an attractive girl, I would almost never take advice from, not in like any like cognitive or intellectual sense, but in the sense that their experience is probably so skewed, given the fact that they are conventionally attractive and had all the affordances that they've had with that. It's not to say to dismiss them on anything they ever said and to like just treat them poorly. You still treat them fine. I wouldn't take any of their advice as as gospel, given that their experience, especially dealing with other people, would be very skewed. I guess to better refine that, I would say I wouldn't take attractive people's advice about dealing with other people because it's certain that they probably have been treated a different way than unattractive people. But I just thought that was funny, just because you see all these news anchors and like sports broadcasters, and they're like talking about how to do. It's like shut up. You guys are like very conventionally attracted multimillionaire people on TV telling like people how to like normal like probably fat people how to interact with others is just hilarious to think that how disjointed and far from the watcher's reality that the showcaster is. But anyway, I just thought that was funny. I'm gonna try to get through as much of this list as I can because I've been kind of building on this file for months and it's enormous. But um, anyway, um, let's see. Yeah. I got yeah. Here's something else that is kind of a. This is more closer to some heretical ideas, but believing in ghosts. I'll say ghosts, but I really mean any kind of um extraordinary, or I'll just say like outside of the realm of explainable science. Generally, I think, and I would argue that most people kind of fall into this category. Uh, it's not that I like don't believe in ghosts in the sense, but it's kind of, it's never like the democratically correct opinion to have is that like ghosts are real. Especially like in a group, you would never. I guess ghost is kind of a like a. It's kind of a I guess a it's an okay thing. It's very benign in the sense no one's going to get mad at you for like believing in ghosts, but I guess believing in things being beyond science, or even just disagreeing with science on that level, like in the sense that ghosts aren't explainable, or and I would say ghosts are apparitions, but I even mean things that like Jung's idea of synchronicity, like things happening, across the universe, or like, somebody dying at the same time that their clock stops. It's like science doesn't explain that, right? And I think most people wouldn't be like quick to say like, oh yeah, it's totally synchronicity totally exists. I think they'd be very doubtful, but I think deep down everyone kind of has some reverence for things that you know, they believe in that sense, right? Or they saw, whether they believe in ghosts in that sense or not, whether they're wide-eyed. But I think that you'd be, I guess, in a social atmosphere, you'd be quick to dismiss that, because you want to appear rational or something. I don't know. There's a whole other beef with people that need to appear rational all the time, and I think I've moved away from that a lot myself, as not needing to be this hyper rationalist. And in fact, I think the more I've delved into I suppose being like I would say hyper rationalist, but just rationalist in general, because it's kind of the same thing. I'm just adding hyper for dramatic effect. But being like an uber rationalist or being very rational at everything is kind of not only is it kind of a miserable way to live in the sense that everything is reduced to only explainable numbers and things, but I also just think it's wrong on some level. And again, I don't know that it's probably not the quote unquote rational half of my brain, but given that there's so much about the brain we don't understand anyway, and the irrationality of humans is what makes humanity kind of what it is and not a computer, um, is as something to celebrate and kind of live with and not ignore, right? And it's not really fun arguing with rationalists just because it always comes down to like the laws of physics or quantum mechanics or something like that, which can get very boring, right? Especially if it's kind of a similar argument to like free will versus non-free will. It's like you don't believe in free will, then what's the point then? I mean, I guess it's beside like an argument. I also think it's just kind of an arrogant opinion to have to think that even our flawed and what I would argue fundamental to the universe understanding of quantum mechanics and physics and science is explains everything is folly, right? They say God don't play dice games. And I'm not even sure like, would the gods or God do math? Would it really be like that kind of elementary to imagine like some 5-year-old dumb human doing the same arithmetic or algebra or calculus or whatever that God was doing. It's like no, I mean God in that sense. I'm not talking about any Christian God or the pagan God or something. I'm just speaking about a creator of some kind, right? Would he have used math? No, I think that's why I love that quote. God don't play dice games, or I like the quote. God don't play games with dice, but it's because it's not. There's these numbers and abstractions that we've made are just that. They're numbers and abstractions, and they help us do stuff. They help us solve engineering problems and come up with very interesting theories. But I don't. At the end of the day, do I think it's the answer for the universe? No, I think it's arrogant to think that math, even in all of its beauty and power, is the answer to the universe. I think the gods would laugh at us. And I think some of the older philosophers kind of held that fact in heart and revered that. So um, I don't know. I forgot what got this whole tangent started, but hold on, something else. Oh yeah, I just mean like there's a certain rationalistic or intellectual resistance to believing in things beyond math, and I think it's human to do that, but I think there's a lot more to it than that. Um, yeah, but I do think it's very real. It's not like I'm not saying that there's things that we can't explain aren't real, or even that things that we can't explain are just like yet to be explained, right? It's like, oh, well, we'll figure that out at some point in the future. It's possible that we never figure that out. And maybe it's because I believe in the sense that I don't think that the human brain is capable of like conceptualizing itself in that sense. It's like in its entirety. I think we can obviously abstract ourselves. And we can believe, we can have like again, need abstractions for synapses in the brain to understand how we work and need abstractions for the body and its contractions, but there's still kind of there's still a limit in the sense that we can't wholly and holistically understand everything about ourselves all the time throughout all of time. There's a lot that we can't do, like beyond our capabilities as entities or something. And I even think the same would go for even like an artificial system, like so a computer, even if it became like we were able to create some kind of conscious computer, which I just blogged about this, but I had a whole thing on artificial consciousness. But even if we were able to create some kind of computer that was aware or conscious of itself and whatever that would mean, I don't think it would be able to comprehend the entirety of its own existence, without using very neat and clean abstractions, which again are neat and clean, but are also reductionist in the sense it's not really how it works. So again, maybe the gods do math in that sense, like we see it as math, but they don't. It's something entirely beyond math. That math is just an abstraction for it for them. So I mean, hopefully that makes sense, but that could be quite confusing. So anyway, the other thought about that, and just I guess the creation of the universe in that sense, is that it's possible that there's just biological life in that sense. Everything stemming from was an accident, and it wasn't a like that, in the sense that there is, we can take the atheists or whatever, that there is no God. And in that sense, our life would be just these, which would be accidents. So, in that sense, it's kind of a joke, and there isn't much else to do but kind of laugh at our hilarious existence. Which again, I'm not saying isn't not possible. It's not something I necessarily endorse. Not because of its utility or anything, but just because I don't know. I guess as part of the accident that is humanity, we accidentally believe in something greater than ourselves. At least most of us do. I guess my other thought around that is that you kind of have to believe in something. Maybe I said this before. Maybe I wrote it down somewhere. I don't know. I have a hard time keeping track of of what I said and where, but you have to believe in something, and chances are whatever you believe in like isn't real. Like if you believe in like money or God with a big white beard or something, it's all like it's not really real in that sense. So whatever your I guess purpose is or whatever you think your purpose is probably not real. But that's not like a way to say that it's not important or that you don't have to live anymore and you can just jump off a bridge. But I still think it's okay to realize that, and to realize that no one else is like no, it's not that someone has like a real reason to live and you don't. Like no one has that real reason to live, and I guess by that way you could cross out the reals and everyone has a real reason to live. But like any people who live for money are like kind of just as stupid as people that I guess you can't claim righteousness over like your purpose or your interest in living or whatever you believe in as being better, 'cause it's you can't claim superiority in any sense. Even intellectual superiority, I think, is you can't claim that when it comes to I guess more philosophical reasons, which maybe is why I like I don't know. I notice a lot of other fields, and I guess this goes for even stuff like physics and mathematics. When you get all the way down, things become very, very technical. Even things as high level as like, being an actor. Like it's not like it kind of might look like magic trick or, like even being a magician, it might look like magic, but at the end of the day, it's all technical. Same with, I guess comedy in that sense, or especially like robustly technical fields or, obviously technical fields like engineering. These are all technical fields, but even sociology, if you go deep enough, it becomes like, again, technical things in an abstracted sense. It's not like it's, math technical, although people like to think that way, but everything becomes technical. But philosophy, it feels like can't be technical. It is very, it's personable in that sense, because you can't, even if you create your own like technical axioms, they're kind of built on the basis that these are my my axioms of technicality, and they're certainly subjective, right? And they might be effective or neat at explaining things, but they're certainly not absolute. Um, and it is maybe a softer science in that regard, but that doesn't mean it's not mathematical in its approach, or even that it's not exact in its approach, 'cause I think it can be. But it's really the issue of using language, I suppose, as the vector, just because it's a very lossy, medium. That was my other thinking with, I guess, super intelligent beings, because that's a big talking point of things that are, mega intelligent or whatever. Is um, you know, it being like language as being the medium in which we communicate with things is going to be very difficult to decide to kind of measure intelligence, or especially things like consciousness. I talked about like the difficulty in like, how do you measure something, like how do you measure awareness of like a tiny cell or something, or of some kind, without like, we use language as the way we communicate anything, really, at least humans. But surely other living and conscious beings don't communicate with, again, our language, or really any language in the sense that we might think of it. The same way like dolphins click and stuff, that's their language. But perhaps there's, I don't know, deep universal vibrations in which, cells communicate. Like, we wouldn't even know, right? These could be, again, maybe yet to be discovered, but also just we would perhaps never discover them, right? And I think it's foolish to assume that we can decide using English whether or not this being is super intelligent or not. Whereas it may not even communicate using English, right? It's like, it might be smarter than all of us, but we have no idea because we're talking to it in English, right? It doesn't even understand that. Doesn't mean it's stupid. It's like you can talk to me in Japanese. I don't know Japanese, but I would look so dumb. You could ask me the easiest question, and I wouldn't know what the fuck you're asking because I don't speak the language. So in the same way, if we create some entity, by accident or on purpose or whatever, that is supremely intelligent, how do we know it even communicates on the same wavelength as us? And the fact that we're making, quote unquote, super intelligent beings that do communicate in English tells me that they're not that fucking intelligent. They're, again, you dig down deep enough, it's technical. So I don't think the big breakthrough on, AGI and these things will be with math or with science. I think it'll more so be a breakthrough maybe on a more philosophical basis. And I don't know what that looks like really. Perhaps it's not. I mean, it's probably articulated in some way in English so that we know what the fuck we're talking about. But perhaps that's not where, um, I don't know, the real progress is made. So, no, it's a very, very interesting uh, concept, because again, it is kind of rash to assume that we can communicate with all intelligent beings using, I guess something sound based or something that transmits over air. I don't know. There's all kinds of ways of communicating that we use, but we don't often appreciate um, uh, you know, their variability, and these variability beyond what could be used to communicate. So I don't know. I'll move on to something else actually. um, yeah, I guess I'm still talking about AI, so I'll just keep talking about the same shit. I think some people, this is kind of one of my big concerns, is not that like there's some alignment with AGI. I think the only real alignment, maybe I've said this before, is that alignment is aligning AI systems to better exploit us. That's what the real doomsdayer's idea of alignment is, um, which is fair. I think that is kind of uh, a more apt way of putting what alignment is in a lot of these people's minds. But a lot of people are critical on like the basis of its merits in the sense that, oh, it just makes like crappy drawings, or it makes like shitty poems, or these poems wouldn't, aren't good enough, or they're the merit of them is low, like it's bad from on its the basis of its quality. And my rebuttal to that, not that I want to side with the people that, because I kind of agree with the sense that these things shouldn't be used as ubiquitously, or as replacing as they are, but it's precisely like dumb, meaningless shit that we care about anyway. So it's like, you don't value your child's hand-drawn picture because it's good. You value it because it's theirs. They drew it. And that's the real significance of it. Um, in the same way, it's like people fall in love with these AI systems, not because they're like the smartest and most attractive or whatever. Well, it's because it's like it feels real to them, and it's precisely like the dumb moments or the dumb jokes, or the stuff that doesn't make any sense, or like the mistakes or whatever, or the hallucinations in this AI sense that give it a lot of that we care about. It's not like we don't. Again, we don't measure everything on the basis of quality, and if we did, it'd be we'd be no different than robots or whatever. But we're not. We value stuff on a lot of different bases, and maybe because it's personal to us. Maybe there's a book that we read. It's not we didn't like it because it's like the best book ever. Because this was the first one we read, or it was the one that we liked the most, or I don't know, it was our grandfather, or somebody died. I don't know. It's always like this weird contextual stuff that gives importance to things. And my concern is that because we don't like, I'm not saying we should use quality as the modicum, but if we because we don't use outright quality you know, of even human things as important, we don't really care whether or not the AI stuff has like even superb quality. So I don't think that like the argument of it being lower quality, you know, is any less of is important in anyone else's mind. Like it doesn't matter the fact that it's a shitty poem, right? It's precisely shitty poems that are meaningful to us. Um, Yeah, to some of us, of course. I'm not saying everybody. Some people only appreciate that, and that's fine if you're somebody who only appreciates Craftsman. But at a certain point, even then, uh, the human element is too important to us. And I've been debating this kind of back and forth on naturalism versus humanism, which I think I'm gonna spend probably longer in a separate time, maybe probably in written form, just because it's easier for me to try to articulate what those definitions mean. But as the way I understand it, or at least now, again, this will definitely develop over as I think about it more. But the humanist is um, generally more progress oriented, and someone who, ironically wants to harmonize humanity with nature, but that often seems at odds with progress in itself, because generally progress is disruption of nature in some way. And again, maybe it's disruption of nature for our benefit to, again, further displace humanity above other organisms. But I'd say I'm coming into more of a naturalist position in the sense that I think that there is certainly a lot, uh, there's more merit in being, again, true harmony and being one with nature than to, at the expense of human progress. With my argument being that I think, and again, this is my opinion, uh, as everything here is, we kind of already know what we need to live like a good life, right? I don't think it's like a mystery. I don't think we're like missing, the science of, how to live, a life well lived. I think we've seen, millions and billions of people come and go who have lived, good lives. And I don't think it's, technology is not the limiting factor of the good life, right? People have lived a good life with many a hardship and many struggles. And like, there's all kinds of good lives that involve, again, zero technology, even prehistoric. These are all again good lies that have been avoided. And I think if you were a true humanist and someone that really valued humanity over the nature, I suppose, in some sense. And again, I think I need to define humanist versus naturalist more, but um, I don't think you'd agree with that. I think it's, people will find contention that, oh, they're like, humanity has a better life to live. Like we can live a better life by using technology. But I do think that there is this yin and yang with it. Like I don't think, like I said, you'll only be as happy as you are sad. And so again, if you really wanted to again maximize pleasure or in this hedonist sense, then you know strap yourself up to a morphine trip, and do heroin until you die and keep doing more until you overdose and die. And it's like that, dopaminergically, that's your best life. Again, if that's really what you're after, but I don't think the best life is free from struggle and from hardship. I think the best life includes a lot of includes death, it includes despair, it includes depression, it includes a lot of shitty things that again on their own are not good, but they ultimately it's part of the good life. Again, it kind of the depressive episodes allows you to have other joyous ones, and again maybe it lasts longer than you think. But I think it's just so natural of us, because on a survival level, to fight all this stuff, like to fight depressive episodes and to fight death and to fight everything and like try to live forever. It's like live forever for what? What do you like? Why on earth? How long do you need to be here? I think it's part of my beef. I think I talked this last time, but it's like we don't ever mature and are ready just to die. It's like no one ever wants to live forever, and just it's like part of the whole the cyclical human process is to just grow, be wise, and then die when you're ready. You can be ready to die, right? Maybe it's one thing to like a child is probably not ready to die, but like an adult is holding on for dear life, so it's 401k can, I don't even know what the fuck these people hold on for, but either way, it's like die, okay? It's not, this isn't a matter of money or, it's just, it's time to go, right? You had your time on the earth and it's okay that it's over and embrace it and leave, versus like fighting everything tooth and nail. And again, I'm not arguing against medicine in that sense, whereas, disease would kill most of us and probably would have killed me, before all this technology. But there's a certain, I don't know, it doesn't have to be so binary, right? I think there's a fair number of cases where we can, death has its place, right? Death has its place, as does life. And I think not respecting that is a mistake on humanity's front, and trying to always fight death at, tooth and nail. And especially even fighting just like not even death, but like fighting, I guess now it's a lot of, mental disorders in some sense. And so I'm not saying that anyone who has depression should just live with it and whatever, but I'm saying that there's can be very useful, right? There's a lot of transformative and powerful effects that come from times of sadness and times of grief. It's not just viewing them as like, oh, I feel bad. I think is being very one dimensional. I think there's a lot of power that comes from all kinds of emotions and periods of one's life that again on the surface might, you can only connect the dots looking backwards. So I think looking at the step you are now and say, well, man, I'm miserable, and taking that as like, oh, I need to do whatever I can to not be miserable. Like it's like there's a certain embrace of that we need to have. And I think I really liked what even Young expressed, in the sense that there's a certain like release that one must have, and not in any like physical sense. You don't have to like release yourself from depression by killing yourself, but it just means just stop fighting it and kind of let dive deep. I think he said like dive deep and find out what it wants, which I think is an interesting way to put it. And it's not really the way I would look at it, is to personify it, but it's again it's one way to do it, is to I guess treat it like its own human and try to figure out what it wants, why it's there, why it's demanding so much of you, why it's debilitating you, or striking you with lethargy. And I don't know, seems like a very human thing to do and not something to blatantly ignore. So I don't know. Yeah, I guess on the topic of that, this is kind of loosely related, but people I know people, and Nick, I'm not, I probably compared to most don't have a very, I'll say, rosy view of institutions in that sense, but yeah, people think that like the pills you buy at CVS are safe. We're like, oh, because a doctor prescribed me with these pills, it's safe. It's like it's not really any safer. Like by that logic, because you obtained it legally, right? It's like it's not really. It's not just because you obtained a gun legally doesn't make it any less lethal, right? So I'm not advocating against the use of any kind of prescription drugs or just drugs in general, or trying to draw a comparison between illegal and legal drugs, versus like meth versus Ritalin or something. I don't know, but it doesn't mean they're any less dangerous or lethal. And so, especially if it's stuff that is trying to get you out of a certain mindset, I think that they should be treated as what they're drugs, right? It's like sure you should know what they are, and like they're mind altering substances that it can have debilitating effects on well-being. And again, what I'll say is a life well lived, and again that means many different things to different people, but to me that doesn't involve figuring out which concoction of drugs is going to get you out of bed in the morning. Not to say you should never do them, but like saying, oh, it's a doctor prescribed them to me and I acquired them at CVS, therefore they're safe. It's like, okay, well, I got this gun legally at a gun store, I can still shoot myself with it. It doesn't make it any different. But I don't know. I thought it was just a funny analogy drawing the comparison between legally obtaining a firearm versus like pills that perhaps just as deadly as and again I haven't been too coy about me being against certain medications for people, especially like on a temporary basis. I think it's one thing, but I think on a perpetual basis, it can be difficult. Not to say that we should live with these illnesses, like with like you should live with just pancreatic cancer, not take any pills for it. But I think there's a lot. There's a I don't know. It can be less binary than that. There can be certain things you can suffer through, right? You can kind of be depressed for 2 weeks without having to take something to get rid of it. We don't have to fight everything all the time. It can be good. It can comes out of 2 weeks of a depressive episode. So and kind of taking that in stride is what I'm advocating for, not necessarily just masking or dulling everything all the time. So, yeah, I guess thinking more about what I want to do with my life, which is, of course, something I always spend a lot of time thinking about these days, is I think there's a certain unseriousness in which I have to I have to exist. I don't think, again, as serious as I take these as I might sound in these videos or come across, I'm generally not that serious of a person. I don't think it's not because I'm immature or think everything's a joke in that sense. But again, I think you can't take everything too serious. And I don't think I'm somebody that can take everything serious all the time. Not to say that everything is a joke and I'll be cackling at every funeral I go to. Is it's like that's not again, it's not so binary. Um, but I think regardless of what I fill my time doing or who I spend my time with, it can't be like it's not that serious. Like, even in matters of life or death, it's not something I can, be anxious and cry about. Um, people, anxiety is a very normal, again, maybe biological, innate, evolutionary reaction to things. And fear is one, again, very reasonable response to anxieties. But I kind of refuse, and I think it's folly, especially in our current, I guess, climate, to live a life in fear, right? Especially with how comfortable some of our lives are. It's like, what the fuck are you scared of? I don't get it. And if humor is the way that I deal with perhaps, I guess anxieties of the sort, and I'll take humor over fear any day of the week, right? And if that's what kills me, so be it, right? If me laughing at something instead of being scared is what kills me, then perhaps it was my time to go, and I am ready for that. So I don't know. I just can't take everything so serious all the time, and it's not. Yeah, I think how much can you pay me to like, you know, get angry about, Microsoft Teams meeting or something? I just this is a fucking joke. I can't. I mean, what about this is serious? um, it's just I don't know. It's just because we're so far abstracted from the things that used to bring us anxieties and fears. Mountain lions and starvation and disease and your leg falling off, and now it's like you can't get the tickets early enough and you're scared. It's like, dude, what the hell are you scared about? This is a fucking joke. So I don't know. It's just um, something I have come to realize about how I want to exist. So I'm gonna take a sip of water here. Getting pretty raspy. This was a this is a very unfortunate thing that happened to me. Of course, I'm using that tongue in cheek, but I had to go on LinkedIn. It's actually one of the only accounts I still have, unfortunately, before I'll soon be linked out once I delete that account. I can't wait for it can't wait to post on there and say, give a sappy LinkedIn post where I'm actually going from LinkedIn to linked out. Anyway, I went on LinkedIn because I had to connect with somebody. Someone was like, "Oh, connect with me on LinkedIn," because I have to. But anyway, I have to go to a separate computer and do it because I don't have it on my computers, and I make it intentionally difficult for myself to get on any of these brain rot platforms, LinkedIn being the absolute worst of them. The other ones I just don't even have accounts for, and thank God most of them now are so ad and paywalled or like login walled. You can't even get on. Like Twitter, you can't see anything unless you're logged in. You can't see anything on TikTok. People send me these TikToks. I can't even watch them because you have to have an account. I don't have one, and I refuse to make one, so I can't watch anything. Anyway, I went on LinkedIn, and of course, the first post I saw just absolutely made me just cry laughing. It's not that it's funny; it's just so fun. It is kind of funny. So someone was getting really, really mad about the vernacular or the nomenclature of saying that a person committed suicide because using the word commit, is like associated with crimes. So suicide is not a crime, and don't make people who kill themselves have to be criminals by saying they committed suicide. We should instead say that they were, killed by suicide. Like that semantic difference, makes tell a suicidal person that. That, oh no, you didn't commit suicide. You were killed by suicide. It's like they don't fucking care. Like call it whatever the fuck you want. It doesn't matter. Like you can say it's called doing a teddy bear or finishing a Sudoku puzzle as killing yourself. It's the same. Like you're shoving a gun down your throat and killing yourself. Why does it matter whether you're calling it committed suicide versus killed by suicide? They're dead. Even if they are a criminal, they're fucking dead. What difference could that possibly make? So anyway, I saw a post on LinkedIn. I thought it was satire. Like I completely thought it was a joke. Because I mean, who on earth could think that it would matter? Like the semantic difference of what, like the words being, they're they're suicidal. That would rank so low on what they would give a fuck. I don't know. It's hilarious to think that that was a legitimate, like someone's spending their time writing a post, and they made like a graphic too. It wasn't they just had like it wasn't a post about text. Like writing text about that and making that point and posting is bad enough, but then going through the effort to make a full infographic to explain why someone should not say commit suicide. It's like you're an idiot. I mean, with this effort, you could have perhaps stopped somebody from committing suicide. So it's hilarious. It's might makes a suicidal person want to commit homicide and then suicide by shooting you and then shooting themselves. So I just thought it was fucking hilarious. I just couldn't believe that it was done in like in honest intention. I mean, what? Because I clicked on their profile and I tried to validate that it was satire, like that it was a joke. And it wasn't, of course. This was like a legitimate person with a real job doing this. So it was hilarious to me. I just could not believe it. Um, yeah, I just had to share that. It's just an absolutely hilarious thing that happened. So, um, yeah, so it's so stupid. Oh man. Um, yeah, so this is the other reason speaking of accidentally, not really accidentally, but finding myself on social platforms, which is again a rarity for me in my current emphasis. Again, it's not that I never online. I still have an internet connection, and I still occasionally can end up on certain sites. But I ended up, I think it was off Hacker News or something or somebody, which is one that I do kind of let myself indulge in, because it's not as brain. I mean, it's some kind of brain rot, but more like autistic brain rot, I suppose, and not in like the brain rot sense, but in more like techie sense. Anyway, I ended up on r/suicide watch uh, on Reddit, which I would not recommend going to look at it because it's mostly just people that are basically giving out their last words that they're going to go kill themselves. And most of it's kind of what you'd expect. It's I'm lonely, you know, alcoholic, or dealing with drugs, or people die, my parents died, or it's very, again, very somber stories about people dealing with a lot of very difficult situations. Um, Not one that I would again laugh at on first glance. But I saw these posts and I was like, wow, there's a lot of them. Like, this must be. But it was not the amount of posts that struck me because it's the internet. You're gonna find an amount of posts. That those amount of posts everywhere. It's just not. It's not crazy. You can find 40,000 people that are furries. It's like that's you probably don't know that many yourself, but there's so many out there with the internet. Anyway, what struck me um, was the time. And in terms of the time intervals in which these were being posted, it was like every like 4 to 5 minutes there was another post, and I was like, man, this is like is it a weird hour? Is there some news online or something? No, it was going back weeks. It was so frequent that people. It was like every few minutes somebody would post on here. Again, presumably for they're gonna. I mean, unless it's bot traffic. Again, it could be it could be bot traffic because I imagine people sit on there because it's always the comments like, "Don't do it, bro. You got so much to live for," or whatever. So much more stuff to buy, so much more therapy to pay for and drugs to pay for. That only cost you the thing once. Uh, but I guess it's one way if you're trying to get karma. It's like a bot farmer or something. You could probably make posts on there and probably get a good amount of karma doing that. But I'm not even sure if you get karma or whatever. I don't know how the whole system works on Reddit, to be honest. But anyway, I was just appalled at how assuming, again, putting I guess you know, that the bot part aside, assuming these are real people that are typing these, and I think they looked real. I didn't really do too much of a Turing test on them, um, but it was appalling at how often they came in. So again, that's part of my conclusion on why I just feel like I need to, no matter what, I need to find a way to laugh every day at something. I need to like dance and laugh every day of something. I don't even have to. It can be alone. And I do most of my laughing and dancing alone anyway. But on some level, I think whatever I do every day, whatever fills time of my day or whoever I'm around, dancing and laughing, or again, some amount of unseriousness needs to be prevalent in my work. Again, my definition of work, not the money definition of work. Just because I think, I mean, if you take it too serious, it's just so easy to end up like, end up as a statistic. I guess to use it that way, but yeah, it's just I just can't take life serious. Yeah, I guess in its at the highest level, because again, you're very very rationalist. This is why I'm maybe much more of a rationalist. Is it's a deadly position to have, especially if you're not like winning in the sense, or you don't have the better numbers and metrics, and quantum mechanics is not on your side, or again, however you want to measure you being better than somebody, if it's not in your favor, or even if it is in your favor and falls out of favor, and there's always a gajillion people ahead of you anyway, whatever this numbers game is, you just can't. Why do you take it so serious? It just, I mean, to sound like the Joker, but why so serious about everything? It's just, you just can't. It can't be that serious. It needs to be more. I don't give a fuck. It doesn't matter. That kind of uh, needs a lot more of that energy. So that's kind of the way one of the ways I've decided is my version of the good life, which, you know, thankfully everyone gets to define their own version of the good life, and that's mine. So you can take that for your own or not. I don't care. You can take it as serious as you want, but I won't be taking anything that serious because it's not worth it. Um, yeah, let's see. Yeah, the thing about, I guess, humor, in some sense is, I guess the more serious or the more that people care about stuff is like just the funnier everything gets, right? It's like something as dumb as like a gay joke. Excuse me, like a gay joke. Like gay jokes aren't funny in the sense that it's not like being homosexual is not funny, right? There's nothing funny about that, like alone. But the fact that so many, like, you'd piss so many people off, and like people get so riled up about making like just again an innocent gay joke about some guy sucking dick. That's what makes it hilarious. It's like the more you care, the funnier it gets. And like the fact that people take that stuff so fucking serious is what makes it just absolutely hilarious. So again, there's something funny about being homosexual. Like, who cares if you're gay? It doesn't matter. Like that part of it's not funny. Funny part is that you give like people give such a fuck. And it's almost most of the time it's never like the gay people themselves that like care so much about making gay jokes. It's just somebody make some straight guys make a gay joke and you're like, he's like, how dare it's like it's funny because you give a fuck. But if you didn't care, it would stop being funny, right? You're kind of you're giving the joke the power you so desperately wish it not to have. So it's just I don't know. There's just that weird dichotomy of like the more you care, the funnier it gets. And again, it's not because it's the mechanics of sucking dick or whatever is funny. I mean, it's funny because people take it so serious. So I don't know. I just thought it was I guess, amusing on humor in the sense that the more people care about stuff, the funnier things get. So anyway, um, yeah, let's see. I guess something else about rationality, which again, I don't know, not that I'm an anti-rationalist. I'm not saying that everything should be spontaneous and random, or I'm not a stochasticist either, whatever that means. Um, but like the human mind is I guess is brilliant. Its inventor should be applauded, but it you can justify again rationally again using logic and language and some literally anything like again with like murder any kind of uh really any kind of viewpoint one could have. The human mind is just brilliant at creating like ridiculous rationalizations for that. So like, even like absurd worldviews, which you're like, how the fuck do you arrive at this as a worldview? It's just a testament to how brilliant the human mind is at rationalizing literally anything. It also tells me that we shouldn't put rationality that high on the pedestal. Given that even like the Unabomber or Sam Bankman-Fried had again very rationalist ideas behind their philosophies. Um, but again, there were still dumbass ideas. Like effective algorithm. What a stupid fucking idea. To like to think that you're better than everybody. Therefore, it's like I have to con people out of money so that I can use it. If it's like, what a fucking stupid idea. But like again, the rationalist, camp. Again, there wouldn't be much contention with that. I'm not. I'm poking fun at those ideologies in particular, just because it's particularly horrible. But the people that are, I just don't think we should give that much weight to like this pure hyper rationality. At least in a philosophical sense of how one should live their life and do it, everything in and out. I think there's a certain amount of spontaneity and again, free will of choice. And you're like free to be stupid. That's like a statement. Freedom is you're free to be dumb, which is fine. I think you should have opinions that other people think are dumb. If every opinion you have, someone else doesn't think is dumb, I think it's how much did you really spend time crafting your opinion, or how much did you think about it? Or how much is it yours really? Or is it just someone else's you've adopted, right? And I don't know. I think there's a certain obligation every individual has to craft their own ideology and live their own life instead of just doing what anyone else says all the time. I'll just listen to Joe Rogan podcast and anytime, anytime he tells me to do anything, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to buy AG1. I'm going to do everything he tells me to do. It's like, what a fucking miserable existence. Why are you should craft your, again, if you land on the same ideology as Joe Rogan on it's like, that's one thing, which again, I would doubt. But who are you? Right? Did you spend any time self-actualizing? Did you spend any time, investigating your own beliefs, your own philosophies, and the motivations and reasons behind that? Then I think you have some work to do, right? Stop listening to Joe Rogan and buying whatever the fuck he tells you to. You fucking twat. Spend some time, having your own opinion on things. All right, maybe you'll be surprised. Maybe you'll learn that you're like, oh, maybe there are some interesting things that I believe, or or I don't know. Again, that's up to you to generate. And I think it's your obligation to do that. In the same sense, it's your obligation to yourself and your body to treat your body with respect, treat your mind with respect, and give it the time it needs. Not melt your brain with pharmaceuticals or a bullet or TikTok. There's some respect and reverence you should have for I guess the privilege of life. That is the one privilege that I will acknowledge. It's not privilege of race or nationality, but it's the privilege of life itself. And thankfully, anyone alive who's able to even speak the word privilege has that privilege. So they should use that, and according to that privilege, they should again treat with what they have with respect. And I guess giving it the time and space and effort that it requires, which are different for your body and your mind and your spirit in some whatever sense that might be. But it's also individual in some sense. Some bodies and minds require other things than others, and it's up to you to find that out. So again, that's my philosophy on things. So it's of naturally somebody will uh, I don't know, agree with Sam Bankman-Fried, and you can be fat and scam people out of money, and that is a life well lived for you, apparently, but not for me. So anyway, I think it's also kind of a sin to to have a philosophy that involves stomping on other people's philosophy, which I think is fucked up, and is not one that I don't think you'd arrive at that naturally. I don't think you come out of a meditative state and really pondering, oh, it's my job to sell elderly people insurance that they don't need. It's like there's no way that I don't believe it. Right? I do not believe that that is what, that is what your God called you on the earth to do, or whatever you think your existence is to make as much money as humanly possible. Like what? That's unfortunate that that is where you landed. But anyway, I'm gonna wrap it up there for today. It's probably been time again. I don't have a timer on these things, so I'll just be kind of loose cannoning it. But I'm gonna try to get back into these again. The biggest barrier is kind of hilariously is playing Minecraft, which is it sounds pathetic actually now that I say it, but because it should be easy to just boot up Minecraft and play. But I'm more interested in talking about this stuff and talking to myself for an hour than I am at playing a video game. Which maybe that means I'm going in the right direction. I'm moving in the direction of my most powerful thoughts. But I don't even know. I have a whole thing about that. Moving in the direction of your thoughts. That's a whole other topic I want to talk about later. But anyway, wrap it up there. So thanks for watching. Peace out, and I'll see you next time.